So in this video we're going to be setting up social authentication, the ability to view articles, comment on them, as well as access them from the homepage. So grab your favorite coding drink and let's head into the video. Let's get started with creating an article component using Livewire. So what we can go ahead and do is we can use PHP Artisan and make Livewire, and we want to head into the pages folder and we want to create article page. We don't, because we're using Filament, we don't need to necessarily structure this inside another folder, but that's up to you. I'm gonna go ahead in here and add a class in here named pros, which allows us to basically style all the content we pass through in here. So what we also want to make sure of, as we did with our other Livewire page, the home page, we want to make sure we actually rendering the correct layout here, because otherwise it will complain. You could also just generate a layout easily if you want to, but I prefer just going with the one that came with Jetstream in this case. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure we also return a view here, and after this let's go ahead and check that we can render this in the browser. So I'm just gonna say hello world. Alright, so we're in the home page right now. We don't currently have this registered as a component, as a root, sorry, so we want to go ahead and make sure we do that as well. So what I want to go ahead and do here is I just want to duplicate this one, and I'm just going to go ahead and in this case just get the article one in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and import this. Make sure you import the page and not the model. And we want to have articles. We want to have /article slug. In this here, we want to make sure we have public article. And after this, let's go ahead and see if we can log in. So currently we have an article here where we can call this test. Perfect. So if we go into wire content test/articles, and we get an issue here, and the issue here is that the model is called article and the page component is called article. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to import the article model as article model. And there you go, we have hello world. So what we can go ahead and do in here now is we can basically put this inside a div component and have a class of max width 7XL. And let's also make sure this is center. And if we go ahead and look in here in the dashboard page, what we could actually just go ahead and do is copy all of this bit here. There. So we do want to add some spacing to this though. So if you go in here again, you can see we have a padding of 12 before we do this. So let's go ahead and take a look at this now. Perfect. And then in here, let's make sure we have a padding of 6. There we go. We don't necessarily want background colors, nor do we want shadow. We just want to have essentially an article in here. We want to get the title here and just have article title. And we also in this case want to go ahead and make sure we can get the content. So I'm just going to go ahead here and say article content. And because right now we're still using the regular WYSIWYG edit instead of using the TipTap one, which we're going to be installing in this video, it won't render the via that helper function we can use for this. So now we have the article up and running. I want to go in here and just add in a few different things here. So I'm just gonna go back into my editor, because this is a bit easier, and then type ln times 100 times tab. I'm just gonna copy a bit of this take here. I don't necessarily need it in here, but what I want to go ahead and do here is just copy and paste this in here. So we have some text. And then I'm gonna make some of this, for example, underscore here. This will be, oh no, sorry, underscore, but italic, and some of it will just be with a heading here. So I want to maybe have a subheading instead. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that we have this. Here's a subheading. So I'm gonna call this hello, and then I'm gonna have some more of this text down here. There you go. So you can see this is nicely styled. But if we then go ahead and say maybe we want a bit less spacing, and we may not want necessarily a subtitle here, but we just want to see how it works with a list. And you can see this works neatly as well. So I just want to make sure as well that we in here can also have the block comments below here. And what we can go ahead and do in here is we can pretty much add in the same bit of divs here. So let's go ahead and add this here. And in here we want to have wire comments, which is a package I developed setup. So if we go in wire comments, which is freely available in GitHub, we can compose to require this. Let's go ahead and take a look as well inside our app.blade.php. We need to have livewire script config set up, and I think we already ran the migrations in the last video, but just double checking. And we want to have commentable on the article model as well. So if we go back in here, we want to have use commentable. And if you haven't already, you also need to go into app.js and just set up the human directive. We don't need anything specific there. So all we really have to do now is we should just be able to go in and have some emojis preset here. So if I go into the article page here again, I should just be able to put in the article model, and then that should allow us to have a comment system. And there you go. So maybe we do want some background color actually, so we can separate it out, at least for now. So I'm gonna go back in and re-add that. And I'm gonna just make it rounded. I'm gonna have it a bit different looking than before, but that's fine by me. So let's leave it like this. Here let's have a space Y of 3. There we go. So now we should be able to say hi, and just as an example comment, and you can see we can easily go ahead and react. We can delete our comment. We can go ahead and make it bold. We could even reply here. As you can see, this works perfectly fine. We have the article here, and let's make sure that we also have this a bit more centered, like this. And I maybe want to turn this down to be an maximum width of 5 pixels instead. Yeah, this looks a bit better. And on top of that, we also have an image we have in here. So let's go ahead and get this image set up as well. So what we can go ahead and do is we can add this below the heading here, have emg source, and for now we could actually just see what we have in the article model here to get. So you can see we have all the content here, we have the media ID, and if we go back into the article model here, and I want to make sure we have this in the models page here as well, not just in the package, which we do, perfect. So inside this article model, we have the ability to go ahead and get a media relationship set up. So let's go ahead and do that now, so we can actually get our media from the media creator. Alright, so to do this, let's go ahead in here and have a public function called image, and I'm gonna have this as belongs to relationship. We want to return this belongs to media class from the curator, and we want this to be using the media ID, and that should be enough to essentially get the image. While we're at it, may as well also add a belongs to relationship to the user. So while this is done now, we should be able to essentially head back into our article page here and see what happens when we try to get the image call here. And if we go in here now, you can see we have all sort of things, so we could really just see what the path is, I think. So if we just go ahead and say path, you see we get this here. So let's see if we can add this into an emg class now. So we will have this image, and then we will have alt text here as article image alt text. We want to have up for now rounded small maybe, and let's take a look at what's happening here. So if we go ahead, we may also want to make sure we add an extra dash here. There we go. So now we can see the image here. Now another feature of this creator package that we have in here, you can see we can edit it. We can also add a caption. So we could actually go ahead and add a small caption if we wanted to. So if I want to go in here and just say test and test, let's go ahead and see if we can add a small caption here. So article image caption, and you can see it says test here, which is perfect. Now you don't necessarily have to add this I'll leave up to you, but we now have an article page here where we can display content along with allow users to comment. While we're at it, I also want to make sure we add in padding of 6 here. There we go. So now it looks a bit better. In fact, we could actually make it a bit higher, maybe a padding of 8, because then it aligns a bit more with this. I actually want to have a padding of 10. Yeah, I think that's perfect. So now we have the ability to have comments, and we also have our nice article page here. Let's go ahead and on the home page as well, and make sure this links to the home page, have article cards that we can go and click on. So if headed into the navbar here, let's go ahead and just have a route to the home page here. So if we go into web.php, we want to name this home, and we want to name this article.show. So we can also add why navigate here. And you see we're now on the home page again. So let's head into the home page and add those article cards. Alright, let's go ahead and start out on the home page by adding in a class with a padding of 6. And in here we want to go into the home component here. And let's go ahead and make sure we have articles in here. So upon mounting, we will set the articles. So this articles is going to be the same article, and let's limit this for now to 6 or maybe 8 actually, and get that. Perfect. So on the home page we want to check for showing the articles if this articles count is greater than 0, because otherwise we don't want to show anything. And then we want to have a max width here of 85 rem. We also want to add in a padding x4, py10, and small px6, and large px8. And we also want pi14 on large, and then margin centered with mx auto. And then on top of that, we also want to have, for now, let's just go in and add in max width of 2xl here. Okay, so we also want on top of this 2xl here, let's go in and make sure we have margin auto, text center, and MB10 large, MB14. We want a H2 element in here with a class where we have text 2xl, font bold, medium, text 4xl, and medium we want leading tight. We also want dark to be text white, and in here we just want to say latest articles for now. We may also later on add a description below here, but for now I'm gonna leave that out. So after this here, we want to go ahead and have a grid with a small grid with columns of 2, with a large grid of columns of 3, and a gap of 6. And we want in here to have for each of this articles as article. And then in here we want to have inside a components folder an article card. So let's go ahead and make this under the components folder, call card. So let's go ahead and say livewire, and in this case components, call card, and we want to pass through an article here and a key of article ID. Perfect. So inside call card we just want to have the article pass through. Make sure we render the view here. So in this article card I'm just gonna add in the relevant things here. And in here we want a fair bit of code, so to save time I'm gonna add this in here. So for tip-tap converter we're just gonna comment this out for now and instead just have, let's just say str limit just like before, with 100 article content, just like that. And then for the images, we're gonna leave this out for now, because later on we're gonna start adding more advanced modes for having different curation in there, but that's for another video. So let's go ahead and basically just add in the image like we did here. But I want to go ahead and make sure that we have the correct classes applied. So we also, actually we can just go ahead and delete this for now, we can add this later. Only thing we want to keep is actually just these classes here. So I'm just going to copy that, and for now we just want to have these classes applied. And let's go ahead and see why it's complaining about article limit. So if we go into the home page again, we do want to actually import this. So we want to import article here as article model. Now we're having an issue here with reading the profile picture URL. So first and foremost, let's go into Jetstream. Make sure we have profile pictures set up. Let's make sure we go into the article model. I'm just going to comment this in and make sure we have this in the package as well, because at the end of next video at minimum we are going to start having this only in the package. So if you go in here now, copy and paste this in and refresh the page, we're still getting an issue here where we can't read the name. So let's go ahead and take a look at article card here, make sure we add in some type safe here. I'm gonna do the same up here. And at the moment, yeah, we just need to fix the picture here. So let's see why we're not getting anything from article user. So currently inside these models we may not have set this in the database, so let's go ahead and take a look at database here, and let's look at, in this case, the articles model here. Yeah, so we actually aren't setting the user to it, and that's why we can't have a relationship. So let's go ahead and fix this by making PHP as a make migration user ID to articles table. And for now, let's just say table for an ID, use ID, constraint, cascade on delete. If you are using this for maybe like a blog or a bigger site, maybe you actually want to do null on delete in case the person leaves and you delete their account. But I'm just going to cascade this on delete for now. And to make sure we can add this, we want to make sure this is nullable. So let's go ahead and migrate this. And below, now you actually have the ability to associate this with a user, which is great. So you see this should work quite neatly. We can easily go ahead and just duplicate these just to quickly test how it works with the grid. There we go. So now we have the ability to have an article here as well. So let's go and take a look at how we can add social authentication as well for this. And at the moment we're just going to add this for the regular login register page and later on add it into the Filament page. But for now, let's just start with this in this video. Alright, let's head to Laravel.com, and if we go in here, you can actually see in the documentation inside packages there is a package called Sociallite, which allows us to essentially set up social authentication. So let's go ahead and compose and require this. And now before we go ahead and work any more on this, I'm just gonna go ahead and open up the navbar. And for now, let's just leave these search icons out, because what I'm actually more interested in is actually having the ability to log in. And let's add this in here as login, and make sure we have wire navigate set up and class button primary. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Okay, we already logged in, so if we go ahead now and let's say we want to just go ahead into application to cookies, and if I click here you can see this works fine. Perfect. Alright, so with that sorted, let's go ahead and now just a register link. And let's have a space exit 2. Just like this. Perfect. So inside on the login page, let's go ahead and start modifying that now. So if we go into login blade.php, we're really interested in sort of changing this whole page into using MariUI. So what I'm actually gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna delete everything inside this form for now, and actually inside the authentication card instead. So let's start with just having an X slot here, name logo, and then here we just want to have X authentication card logo. Perfect. And then we want to go ahead in here and have X validation errors. So I'm gonna just add this back in. Perfect. So we then want to have an XMary form. We want to use method in here where we're gonna just say post action root login. We want to make sure we have cross-site protection. In here we want to have a div where we want to have X. Actually we can just add these as the regular form fields for now, just to save some time, but what we really care about in this case is really what comes after the design of it. So let's take a look here. So we want to have flex in here, item center, justify between, and MT4. And then we want to have a label here, which we're going to call remember me. And then here we want to have a class of flex item center. We want to have an X checkbox here where we're going to call this ID remember me, and we're going to have name as remember. And then we just want to have a span in here where we're going to have a class of ms2 text small and text grade 600, and for dark we're going to have text grade 400. And in here we just want to have to text me. Perfect. So with that sorted, let's go ahead and also add this bit in here, just below the label. So if we have reset request root, we will add that in. And then below that, we just want to add in the slot and the actions here. So we want to do this basically all the way down here. And now, let's just say below the Mary form, we want to have a relative. And we want to have MT4. And we want to have absolute inset 0 flex item center, and we're gonna set area hidden to true here, and then here we're just gonna have a border. So basically that's what we're gonna do here. Okay, and then we want to have another position here of relative and flex justify center, text small, font medium, and leading 6. Let's just add in the text here. So let's take a look at how this looks now. Already looks pretty good. So below here, I'm just gonna add in a single icon for now, but you can add more icons later on if you want to. And for now, we're just gonna have the Twitter icon here. So at the moment, we need to actually kind of install Font Awesome here, and we also will leave the root redirect here because at the moment we don't have that set up. So let's go ahead and make sure we have inside Mary UI. I think we can find the compose required there. So let's go ahead and compose required Font Awesome. There you go, we have a Twitter icon now. We could also go ahead and add a GitHub icon just to see how it looks, but I'm only going to show you how to do this for now with Twitter. So with that sorted, you can now see we have the ability here to click on any of those to do nothing right now, and later on we can add the auth redirect to it, so we can redirect to Twitter and then come back and be signed in with our social authentication. Alright, so let's head into our controllers here inside HTTP controllers, and let's go ahead and create some sociallite controllers for us here so we can log in. So I want to go ahead and start out by creating an auth. In this case, we're going to call this redirect controller. So all we want to do in here is we want to invoke, and we just want to take in a string of the service we want. So we want to return sociallite driver service, and then we want to redirect. So basically all we're doing here is we're passing through a string where we're going to redirect. We do also, however, need a callback controller here. So we need to have one where we retrieve whatever we get back from the social media page. And again, let's make this invocable. And in here we just want to have again a string of a service. And in here, let's go ahead and set the user to sociallite driver service user. And then let's go ahead and authenticate that user. We're gonna go ahead and say login. But before we do this, we actually want to have a few things set up in here. So we already have an actions folder, which is great. So I want to go ahead and create in here a folder called social, and also one that's called contracts. So let's just create the folders first. And in the contracts folder, we want to have, in this case, create user contract. So we want to create user.php. And in here, we want to just have a simple interface where we take in a user for creating one. So what we want to go ahead and do in here is, in here we want to have, for every social media page, we can customize it. In this case, we're going to have just X for now. And inside create X user, we are going to have a very simple class. So let's go ahead and just have namespace set up. App actions social class create X user implements create user, and then we just need to pass through the required method here, which is going to be the create method. So with that sorted, what we can go ahead and do here is we can return user, and we want to check if it exists. So first or create, and in this case we want to have two things. We want to have an X ID we can go by. So if we go back into our database and see if we have anything to migrate, we have nothing to migrate. So we basically want to have an X ID in here. So let's go ahead and just look up this one now, even though we don't actually have anything we can do with it, and get ID. So obviously this will break until we have made the migration. And then in here we also want to just have a name, which is just going to be user get name, and we want to do the same for the avatar and the email, just like that. Now on top of that, we also want to have a factories folder in here. So let's go ahead and create factories. And inside this folder, we just want to have create user factory. So let's just go ahead and have a return function in here for service, and we just want to have a string of service in here, accepted, return match. In this case we want to match the service with, in this case we only have Twitter, which is going to be new create X user, and we want to have a default in here. So you can basically just go ahead and add other social media classes here. So throw new exception unsupported or we can also just call it let's just call it unsupported service for now. Just like this, and let's go ahead in here and make sure that we for now have a create X user as return, but it could also be other ones, so this could return a host of different things. We want to make sure that we make it clear here that we are throwing an exception. So with that sorted, let's head back into our auth callback controller. Because now that we can actually get the user regardless of what service someone is going to use, let's go ahead and say user app create user factory class, and we just want to pass through for service, and in this case service, and create user. So let's just add this onto a few new lines. And then if user was recently created, let's just create a new event for the registration, basically. And we just want to have it from the events off here. And pass through the user. And if everything is successful, we just want to return redirect, and in this case, root home. Alright, so let's just go ahead and make sure we have this migration made as well. Okay, so let's go into add X ID here. We want to make sure this is a string because we will get back a string. And let's migrate this. Alright, so the only other thing I'm gonna go ahead and do now, and that is basically just to set up the X aspect here on the env file. So let's go back into env file. And I'm gonna go ahead in here and just have this to wire content.test. And then inside web.php, we want to add a few roots in. So in here, we want to have basically a route middleware. If you're a guest, we want to create a group function. And in here, we want to have a redirect basically. So if we head back into login.blade.php, let's just go ahead and make sure we can actually just log in now. Okay, so currently we're getting this issue. Let's take a look at why this may be. So let's go ahead and take a look at our redirect controller. So we're getting Twitter through as a service. Alright, inside our config folder, we need to actually set up a few configs here. So let's go ahead and do that. So for this one, what we want to go ahead and do essentially is inside our services folder, because we can use services here, just go in and add the Twitter configuration. You can do the same thing here for GitHub if you wanted to. You can see we have an issue with the proof callback URL. So what we would have to do here is actually head into the dashboard on X, and I'll show you how to get this sorted. So let's head in there now. Alright, I've gone ahead into the developer portal on X, and in here I think we need to go in and essentially just edit this here. So I'm going to call this wire content instead. Just like that, and let's save that. So for now, I'm just gonna head into this page here and let's see what happens. That's fine. We can easily set up the security settings here. Okay, so we have an issue here with target class app factory social create user factory does not exist. So let's head in here. We have this set under app factories, not app social factories. Although we could potentially just go ahead and call that app social factory. So let's just take a look here. Yeah, let's leave it as social just for simplicity, even though we could move it into basically a social folder here. Okay, perfect. Let's take a look at this now. And this seems to be working a bit better. So we have an issue here where the password is an issue. And the reason for this is because we don't have a password when we come through. So in the database manager for now, I'm gonna go in and set the password here to nullable. And if you want to, you can go ahead into the users table here and just make sure you put the password in here as nullable. So if we now go back, you should hopefully be able to create a user. And there we go. Obviously these still show here because it doesn't know about our authentication. So let's head into our navbar again. And in here, let's go ahead and just have a guest directive. And there we go. Now we are signed in. We have the ability to go in and comment, delete our comment, view article page, and view the cards on the page. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching it. Please hit the like and the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.